Hi everyone, it's Mama D here with your daily dose of encouragement. This one is part of another series that I'll be doing off and on as I finish researching them. This one is the rest of the story of the quote, eye for an eye, because we hear that a lot. And I just thought there's a lot of quotes like that we hear that come from the Bible, but are they in context? And what are we really saying when we use those quotes? So, an eye for an eye comes from Exodus 21, verses 22 through 25. And Leviticus 25, 19, and 20 say basically the same thing. And here's what it says. Now suppose two men are fighting, and in the process, they accidentally strike a pregnant woman, so she gives birth prematurely. If no further injury results, the man who struck the woman must pay the amount of compensation the woman's husband demands and the judges approve. But if there is further injury, the punishment must match the injury: a life for a life, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, a hand for a hand, a foot for a foot, a burn for a burn, a wound for a wound, a bruise for a bruise. Now, the note in my study Bible for this explained it really well. It says the eye for an eye rule was instituted as a guide for judges, not as a rule for personal relationships or to justify revenge. And that's how it's used pretty much every time I've heard eye for an eye. This rule made the punishment fit the crime, thereby preventing the cruel and barbaric punishments that characterized many ancient societies. Jesus took this principle a step further to teach us not to retaliate in Matthew 5, and we'll read that in just a minute. Judges, parents, teachers, and others who work with people need to make wise decisions in order for discipline to be effective. A punishment too harsh or is unfair, and one too lenient is powerless to teach. We need to ask God for judgment, for wisdom before we judge. And Jesus took this to a whole new level, and he tells us, you've heard the law that says the punishment must match the injury, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say, do not resist an evil person. If someone slaps you on the right cheek, offer the other cheek also. If you are sued in court and your shirt is taken from you, give them your coat too. If a soldier demands that you carry his gear for a mile, carry it 2 miles. Give to those who ask, and don't turn away those who want to borrow. By telling us not to retaliate, Jesus is keeping us from taking the law into our own hands. By loving and praying for our enemies, we can overcome evil with good. And remember, there's enough ugly in the world. Choose Jesus.